Welcome back. Chapter 33. My head got cold. Catherine. I hold my mother's arm, support her as she shuffles towards the front desk. Her effect is completely transformed. She's wearing the lavender colored sweatshirt she packed for me, and her body is hunched. She takes haltering steps and hangs her head low, as if she is fully dependent on me to lead the way. The night guard looks up as we draw closer to the receptionist's desk. Paul, wow, it's been a minute, I say, my tone cheerful. His face breaks into a smile. Catherine, good to see you again. His smile slips away. You're out late tonight. I feel my body begin to perspire, even though the lobby is pleasantly cool. I struggle to keep my tone casual as I say, yeah, I'll just sign Mrs. Jacobson in and bring her back to the 5th floor. She's pretty tired. They're at Sunrise. Paul watches as I begin to type on the keyboard of the computer next to his desk, signing myself in. I have the password after all. We're at Sunrise. Big event tonight? Paul asks. He has seen me bring residents back to Sunrise in the evening many times since I used to drive the van for residents outing, but I don't think I've ever brought someone back this late. Plus, it has been a couple of years since I've driven the van. Paul has no reason to suspect anything is amiss, though. Since he works the overnight shift, he can't know I never signed out a resident earlier today. My mother is 2 decades younger than Mrs. Jacobson, but they both have short, dark hair. Paul probably has no idea what Mrs. Jacobson or any of the other Memory Wing residents look like, since they are typically in bed by the time his shift begins. Paul prepared to spring into action if someone from the Memory Wing breaks out. He isn't expecting a healthy person to try to sneak in. There was a big birthday party for her son, I tell Paul. The family really wanted her there, and she did very well. She even had a little cake. My mother stands next to me, not saying a word, just as I instructed her. But she knows what to do in case Paul grows suspicious or tries to verify what I'm typing. All set, I say as I pull my hands away from the keyboard. All I've done is sign myself in, but Paul won't know that unless he checks the computer log. This is it, our make it or break it moment. I can sense my mother's uneasy energy matching my own. I hold my breath, hoping Paul doesn't think it's strange that I'm carrying both a purse and my backpack, which contains my mother's purse along with my laptop and our toiletries. Paul looks at me, then at my mother. I'm glad you had a good time, Miss Jacobson, he says softly. Good evening, ladies. I release my breath and bid him good night. My mother must also feel relieved that she doesn't need to moan or fidget, ratcheting up a display of agitation to deflect any attempt by Paul to verify the information I pretended to input into the system. Perhaps I shouldn't have been so nervous, though. There's no reason for Paul to be distrustful of me or my mother. In his world, unlike mine, people are probably who they claim to be. I guide my mother into the elevator and press the button for floor 5. We remain in character, mindful of the cameras recording all arrivals and departures of the Memory Wing. Once we reach the 5th floor, I input my code and push the door open, then lead my mother through it. It's imperative we avoid being spotted by anyone else, but the odds are on our side. All of the residents should be asleep, many with the help of medication. And while the lone nurse and aide who work the graveyard shift on this floor make rounds every hour, they tend to otherwise stay at the nursing station. I put my finger to my lips, then gesture for my mother to follow. We tiptoe down the long hallway and pause, listening hard. I can hear the distant sounds of conversation, but the voices are too far away for me to make out any words. We glide past rooms belonging to a dozen clients, all dimly lit and quiet. The last door on the right is the one I'm seeking. It should be empty. Staff members are always notified when families come for an overnight visit, and when I subbed in for a shift earlier today, there was no mention of guests on the Memory Wing arriving tonight. I twist the knob and peek inside. All clear. I step aside so my mother can enter, then I pull the door closed behind us. We're safe in the family quarters for now. I grab a towel from the rack by my shower, then roll it up and place it by the crack in the bottom of the door so no one will see light spilling out. If we avoid making loud noise, we should be able to evade detection. There's no reason for anyone to check this room or even walk to the very end of the hallway. My mother takes a step towards me, whispering, "Catherine, I lift my hand to stop her. I need to use the restroom." I go into the bathroom and flick on the lights, then lock the door. I close the toilet lid and sit down. My mind is swimming, and it's difficult to catch my breath, like I've just finished a long, punishing race. In the past few days, I've learned my mother's identity is a fabrication. Now she tells me the person I always imagined my father to be, a selfish, immature boy, is a myth too. I drop my head into my hands. Some of the pieces floating around in the puzzle that compose my mother are beginning to fit together. Maybe my father stalked her when she ended their relationship. She could have changed her identity to hide from him. All of our abrupt moves to different towns, her lack of connection to anyone from the first part of her life, it makes sense in that context. But why wouldn't she have told me? Exactly, we've been trying to tell her to tell you this whole time. Now that I'm on the verge of learning about her past, it feels like I've hiked to the edge of a precipice. I'm gripped with the urge to back away, but I can't. I'm seconds from literally holding the truth in my hands. I reach into my purse and pull out my iPhone. I type new search terms into Google. Not Virginia, but Maryland. Panthers, James, Pizza Piazza. That's all it takes. Is she about to find out what happened? The first few hits are the website for the restaurant and Yelp reviews. Then news stories flood my screen. The first headline I read is Oak Hill High Killer Paroled. Nausea rise in my throat as I view the image attached to the story. It's him, the man I saw in the restaurant just a few hours ago, minus the wig and glasses. His full name is James Bates. He's a murderer. He's also my father. I drop my head between my knees and suck in shaky, shallow breaths. It isn't only my mother's entire identity that is a lie. Mine is too. I force myself to begin reading the article. Midway through, I have to close my eyes and wait for the dizziness to pass, but I press on. I understand the words on my screen, but they are hard to comprehend, like I'm trying to translate a language I don't speak fluently. Nothing I'm reading computes with the tidy, quiet life I share with my mother. James killed my mother's high school prom coach. He went to prison. My mother disappeared the night of the murder. Her real name is Ava Morales. The revelations slam into me, one after the other, like a flurry of punches. When I'm close to the end of the second story, the one that says James skipped out on parole and there's a warrant for his arrest, a tap on the door startles me. "Catherine, are you okay?" "No," I want to cry, but I say in a hushed voice, "I'll be out in a minute." I slip my phone into my purse. There's a lot more information out there, but I've learned the basics. That's all I can handle for one night. I sit motionless in a small white tiled bathroom. I have no idea how to feel or what to do next. I finally stand up and turn on the sink tap, letting cool, silvery water trickle into my cupped hands. I splash it onto my face and use the hand towel to dry my cheeks. Then I open the door. I can tell the moment my mother sees me that she knows I've discovered the truth. She is sitting on the edge of the bed, her hands folded in her lap. The room is shadowy and the illusion we created together that she is older and frail seems real. All the questions that have been bubbling inside me funneled into this one. What happened the night you disappeared? This is what we want to know. My mother bows her head. I didn't know what James had planned. I swear, Catherine, I thought we were only going to trash the office. Coach deserved that. He wasn't a good guy. Her voice trails off, then she continues. Afterwards, when Coach was dying, I wanted to call 911, but James scared me so much. One minute, he was this gentle, caring person, and the next, he was a completely different person. I nod for her to continue. We both went home to grab some clothes and valuables. I was supposed to meet James at the pizza place, but I drove in the other direction. I can understand. If I saw James walking towards me, I'd run. I'll turn and run as fast as I could, too. Did James ever hurt you? I asked. Man, we never knew this, right? She shakes her head. Never. Okay. But I believe he killed his stepfather, and if I hadn't pretended to agree to run with him that night, I think he would have harmed me too. I said that. I take a few steps closer to her as I break through another lie. Your family didn't disown you? My mother's eyes are painful to behold. They're like shattered glass. No, they didn't. I sent my father a note a long time ago with no return address and a coded message to let him and my brother know I'm alive. I couldn't bear to think of them worrying about me. But, her voice breaks, they didn't throw me out because I got pregnant. I didn't even know I was pregnant with you until I started running. My mother has a brother, which means I have an uncle? Timmy. A tear rolls down her cheek like it cost her everything to even say his name after so long. How old are you really? I ask. 41, she swallows. I was 16 when I got pregnant and left home, 17 when I had you. I try to picture my mother at 16 on her own, completely terrified. My heart begins to thaw ever so slightly. Then she says, I stay hidden for you. I research what happened to children of killers. Do you know Ted Bundy has a daughter? People think she's living under assumed name in Europe. It was bad enough I had to be in hiding. I didn't want that to be your life too. Something in her words snag on me. My mother is a victim, yes, but it isn't that simple. You didn't stay hidden just for me. You might have been charged as an accomplice. You did it to protect yourself too. She nods. Yes. There's one final lie between us. You don't have Alzheimer's disease. My mother's face collapsed, then reforms, this time with the steely expression I know too well. I'd do it all over again if I had to. James was getting out of prison, and if you were living alone near him and he found out about you, I wouldn't be able to protect you. I had to keep you with me, and I didn't know how else to do it. I look at my mother for a long, steady moment. She perpetuated a horrific deception to keep me close, but it wasn't because of her neediness. It was to protect me. Still, that doesn't erase what she did or the amount of pain and disruption I endured. Her hands began wringing themselves together, and her sleeve slipped, revealing an old, slightly bumpy scar on her forearm. My mother knows the agony of having fire sear her skin, yet she ran through the flames tonight to save me. She also made choices with momentous consequences for us both without ever letting me know how much control she was exerting and shaping my life. She could have told me the man who impregnated her was dangerous. I deserve at least a small piece of the truth, and you did, and we was trying to tell her to tell you. Can you forgive me? She whispers. There have been enough lies between us, so I answer honestly, I don't know. We don't talk much more after that. We are both wrecked and physically and emotionally. We already changed into fresh clothes in the Bonneville because the outfits we were wearing reeked of smoke. All that's left to do is brush our teeth and climb into bed. The moment I lie down, though, a forgotten detail slides into my mind. I sit bolt right up. The Cadillac I took from the Campbells is still in the parking lot at Pizza Piazza. That's the end of chapter 33. Chapter 34, Ruth. I've gone over this in my mind 100 times, and I keep landing on the same conclusion. There is only one safe path forward. I'm sitting in an upholstery chair that I've dragged over to face the door of our hiding place while Catherine sleeps restlessly a few feet away. It's well past midnight. I should try to doze for a while too, but I can't bring myself to lie down. Mom? I whip around at the sound of Catherine's straining whisper, but she's only talking in her sleep. I stand up and walk over and smooth her hair. Shh, I whisper. Her face relaxes and she drifts into what I hope is a more peaceful dream. I stare down at her, wishing Catherine had come to me to ask about my connections to the pizza restaurant rather than reach out to the worst person imaginable. Hold up, honey. You had enough time to tell her, and she did come to you, but you yelled at her. But no, that isn't fair. I'm the one who built the wall of distrust between us. Oh, okay. You're right, you did. And I can tell by the way she is acting that it may be a permanent structure. I stand in the darkened room, awash in the cruel self-judgment and what-ifs that accompany hindsight. After a moment, though, I banish those thoughts. If we are to get through this, I must look ahead, not backwards. There is nothing of her father in Catherine, I promise myself. Yet they found each other as if by gravitation pull, both reaching out through the gray, misty ether until their fingertips touched. By now, I am certain James is the man Catherine communicated with in a private message on Facebook. To begin with, he joined Facebook on the same day he was sprung from prison. He also filled his profile with just enough information to allow someone who knew him well to find him, but not enough to alert the authorities to his new social media presence. He listed Pizza Piazza as his former place of employment. He chose a photo of a black Corvette as his profile picture. He identified himself as David James, his first and middle name reversed. And in a sick nod to the past, he cited Eric Clapton as his favorite musician. This information was freely available to me. I only had to log in to the fake Facebook account I made years ago to check in on Timmy. At first, as my eyes skittered across the different clues on James' page, I felt completely bewildered. No one but me would know the significance of his background photo. It's the field in the middle of the woods behind my high school where we first had sex and often returned together. It seems as if James was leaving private clues on a very public forum for the express purpose of letting me know he was there. Then it hit me. Maybe he was doing exactly that. I tensed as a brand new scenario, one I've never before considered, exploded in my brain. If James was putting out gentle fillers to find a way to communicate with me, the assumption I've been operating under for nearly 25 years was dead wrong. I'd always thought James knew I deliberately left him waiting at our meeting place. I pictured him passing. I pictured him passing time in jail, fascinated about revenge. I did too. I thought the same thing. But James was captured only 15 minutes after we were due to meet. He had no way of knowing I was speeding down the highway in the opposite direction by then. There could have been a dozen legitimate reasons for why I was late. I lost track of time in my state of shock. My father woke up when I came into the house to grab my things, and I had to wait to leave until he fell asleep. I had car trouble. It took me longer to pack than the scant bit of time James had allotted me. I was able to come up with all of those possibilities quickly. Of course, James would have considered them too. The fact that I never went to the police and gave a statement identifying James as Coach's murder in an effort to save myself could support any inclination James might have to give me the benefit of doubt. Now I sink into a chair and lean forward, my elbows on my knees, my mind whirling. Maybe all those pictures he drew of me in prison were in a byproduction of his rage. Perhaps they were sourced in his twisted vision of love. He might have imagined we'd be a couple again once he was free. All isn't lost. I have one more chance. This is the only path forward. James must be captured today. I know how to make it happen too. After all these years of hiding from the police, I'm finally going to use them as an ally. I reach for my phone and navigate to the private message function on Facebook and send a careful, thought-out one to James, sprinkling in a few clues of my own. Meet me at our special spot under the stars at 9 a.m. Love, your chocolate chip canola girl. You sure, Ruth? Are you sure? I wait, but there's no immediate reply. My eyes grow dry and itchy as minutes pass, and I stare at the little screen waiting for a response that doesn't come. It's the middle of the night. James must be asleep. There's no way he can be driving down the highway, retracing our path here. Finally, I put down my phone. My mind can't be sluggish today. I have to get a bit of rest too. I lie down beside Catherine, but I'm too uneasy to drift off. There's a flimsy lock on our door, nothing that would stop someone determined to get inside. Every distant footstep is James coming down the hall. Every creak or rustle of wind is him drawing closer to us. I toss and turn for a long time. Finally, I get up and open the Rice Krispie I smuggled in here. I sprinkle the dry cereal over the tiled floor in the space between the door and our bed. Satisfied that the crunching noise would alert me to anyone who tries to sneak up on us, I finally close my eyes with my mace in my hand. Okay, that's the end of chapter 34. Now, do y'all think James really didn't think that Ruth left him? Or do you think he might be wanting revenge? I'm still stuck on he want revenge because I believe he's smarter than that. 24 years? He had 24 years to think about it. And I'm sure he came up to, that woman left me. Okay, so she trying to plan to get James to come meet her so he can get captured again for skipping parole. I don't know if that's a smart idea, but I guess we're going to have to find out. Oh, another thing. I really was hoping that they would be giving us James' perspective, but it seems like it's going to stay Catherine and Ruth's perspective, more so Ruth's perspective. But we shall see because James might show up and let us know. All right, so I must see y'all in chapter 35. Bye.